Professor Sanjay Singh, Professor HCS Rathore, Professor Arvind Jha, Professor Shastri, and invited eminent guests. Today we will be looking at the National Policy 2020 and its potential to guide global education. This potential, what I will be talking about, is how it can be actualized through using ancient wisdom, ancient Indian wisdom. However, before I make any such presentation, let me give a disclaimer that this presentation talks about ancient Indian wisdom to transform global education, but it makes no claim that this or any similar wisdom is the exclusive preserve of any set of people, exclusive preserve of any religion, community, or country. If any other knowledge or wisdom, tested by evidence and experience, meets the objectives sought for global education, as listed in this presentation, that too will be equally valid. So what are the main objectives of the NEP? The NEP seeks to transform the intent and the content of education. It seeks to connect the local and global, make us future ready, focusing on national goals, and make students global citizens connected to their roots. It desires to shift the focus from what to think to how to think. It is emphasizing on autonomy and of institutions and teacher training. However, as Professor Jha has mentioned earlier, two objectives need a clearer focus. The very first line of the policy seeks to achieve the full human potential. The question becomes how to do it. This clarity we need to discover, and I will make an attempt to do this in this presentation. And in doing so, I will rest on the fourth line, which is how to ensure cultural preservation. So this presentation is going to look at ancient wisdom of ancient India as the basis of achieving the full human potential. So on the basis of the fourth line, we will seek to discover how the objective in the very first line can be achieved. Now, how is the content being transformed? That's what, we have looked at the intent of transforming human potential, but how is the content being transformed? We see that many of the ideas have been used from the International Baccalaureate curriculum, which is there in the Western world and all over the world. So what is the basis of the IB curriculum? The basis of this IB curriculum is what they call a theory of knowledge. And this theory of knowledge has many wonderful ideas which can transform India's education and its future. However, in this forum, we should also list some precautions that may be needed to avoid the pitfalls that others have suffered, and we should not suffer. The whole theory of knowledge rests on 8 ways of knowing. The very first is sense perception. The second is reason, emotion, then faith, then imagination, intuition, memory, language. So what do science and our ancient Indian tradition, our ancient wisdom agree upon? What's their common agreement ground? While science is exploring the outside world, our ancient Indian tradition explores the inside world. So science looks at truth that is verifiable by experience. Now, what is experience? This is where there becomes a little difference. Some people are limited by using sense perception alone in life as a basis of experience. So this is the basic difference between the curriculum that we are using and ancient Indian style of thinking. If this one thing is understood, then everything is understood. That the whole basis of their curriculum design and ideas sometimes, for some people, are limited to using sense perception alone. Now, wisdom goes beyond it and uses education to transform the quality of experience. So what they are saying, both science and ancient wisdom look at experience as the basis. So whether it is Buddha or it is Shankaracharya, they all say you cannot call through cold logic, say that the fire is cold. Or Buddha said that please do not accept my words until you experience them. Therefore, there is a focus on experience. The question is, how do you change the quality of experience to make it more fulfilling to meet the first line of the NEP, which is how to meet the full human potential. The full human potential in our tradition is created by changing the quality of experience. So the quality of experience is what is important. Finally, both ancient wisdom and science agree. If experience contradicts theory, then experience should be accepted and theory should be revisited. So using this, let us see what is the experience of those people who have used these curriculum ideas over the years. Are you able to see this slide, please? Dr. Jha? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So if you see the experience of society as discovered by OECD from the time of the Industrial Revolution, they said that we have had two major things. One is the Industrial Revolution and one is the Digital Revolution. Both of them have transformed society. Both of them have been accompanied by education. What they have found is that despite increasing levels of education, both these revolutions were accompanied by social pain. So what is it that needs to be done? They feel that prosperity should be achieved without social pain. This change in OECD's goal came in the year 2008. So 2008 recession led OECD to revisit education, and therefore the question becomes that will 2020 lead India to add value in a way that it can meet OECD's new objective? If our national education policy can be understood, applied, implemented to create a society which meets the goal of OECD, then our national education policy can become an international education policy. So India's NEP wants to help individuals realize their full potential. Obviously, OECD found that the present curriculum used in the developed world could not deliver this. The problem lies in the idea of prosperity becoming individual-centric. That was the main interpretation of Adam Smith's definition of economics. It was used that greed is the center of economics. So this individual-centric approach led to profit maximization as the goal of economic activity without concern of its impact on society. The 2008 crisis made the developed world rediscover the link of economic prosperity with education and social well-being. That prosperity alone, in its exclusiveness, cannot be a goal if you want the civilization to survive. So if that is not the goal, then what should be the goal? This discovery was started by the 2008 recession. So what is the discovery that should start in 2020? That becomes the question. And can India help out there, which has seen its civilization survive for thousands of years? Can this thousands of years of its experience, if we can draw the best out of that, can we help not only India, but the world? And can this juncture of the NEP announcement be used as an opportunity to transform the global education system? Because the link between economic prosperity, education, this link of economic prosperity, education, and social well-being is the basis of our cultural heritage. The Indian students were known by the name of their gurus. They would introduce themselves as the student of so and so. So the guru took responsibility for what the student did. Can our institutions, can those who caused the 2008 recession, can the institutions take responsibility for them? In earlier times, when there was a problem in society, education would say the buck stops here. If this is a problem in society, then either I have not taught correctly, or what I have taught has not been understood correctly. So I have to revisit the way I am teaching. The third is, if what I have taught correctly, has been understood correctly, then why has it not been implemented correctly? So we go into that. Is it because the teachers themselves are not following what they are teaching and therefore they have not set the right example for students? So we go into those questions. So this is our cultural heritage. This presentation is going to look at this issue. Now, what does the OECD seek? The OECD now seeks to transform values and attitudes through education. And it seeks to create well-being, not prosperity, which is its new 2030 agenda. And if you see, it's emphasizing on attitudes and values as the basis of skills. So social behavior post-education in countries which have used this curriculum, we should look at that. Basically because society has now agreed that the purpose of education is not just prosperity. So education, all agree, must change the quality of human life, especially in society. 2020 provides a good litmus test of how education has transformed society. Can we look at the social behavior in the world we consider developed? Is their behavior a benchmark for us to follow? Can we then blindly follow their education? 3 tests are important. Has their social behavior shown unity? Has their social behavior shown discipline? Has it shown a willingness to sacrifice for others? It has in many situations, but not all situations. On the other hand, all that is ancient in our tradition is not wisdom. So we need to remove the wheat from the chaff, not only in the curriculum that we are importing, but we also need to remove the wheat from the chaff in all that we consider as wisdom and all that we consider as ancient, so that we can take the best from both the worlds and bring them together in a curriculum, in an understanding of mathematics, sciences, economics, management, in such an understanding that creates well-being even before 2030. OECD saying that well-being is an objective by 2030 doesn't mean it will be successful. They thought that prosperity is the objective, but they discovered decades later, it took a crisis for them to discover that the objective is not successful. So what is the problem that can face well-being as an objective? If well-being is again implemented in an individual-centric way, will it share the same fate as the goal of prosperity? The 2008 crisis was due to financial risks. The MBAs and the curriculum were blamed for it. Can India's ancient education, wisdom ideas, create a curriculum using the same ideas, concepts and theories, yet in a manner that prevents recessions? Let's look at how. Business is about strategy, and strategy is a way of achieving a goal. What then creates well-being for individuals and society together? So Indian tradition uses 4 goals as a strategy of living life. From the strategy of work emerges from the strategy of living life. These goals are called Purusharthas, and they've been tested for thousands of years to create well-being for the individual and society together. If the MBA curriculum is understood and applied using them, recessions can be prevented. Here, the topics, so all the MBA curriculum, if you put all the topics under various Purusharthas, it will be possible that students understand them differently, and therefore they apply them at work differently. For example, all topics under Arth could include topics like total quality management. Under calm or desire fulfillment, you could add competitive strategy. So here we need to understand that the proper pairing is important. Artha is always coupled with dharma. So dharma has to guide artha and kama has to be guided by moksha. And what is moksha? Moksha is nothing but our ability to be compatible with the needs of society, with the needs of nature, with the needs of the world. So that kind of approach prevents social and economic problems. It will need a more detailed discussion to show how it has been done. There is a certain research which has been done which uses the 108 diagrams to integrate present concepts of management with ancient Indian concepts, which can be a separate session. So how does ancient Indian wisdom create a holistic idea of well-being? Let me try to put it very simply, and it may be a little oversimplistic, but please bear with me. We all experience our bodies. Because we feel our body is one, our right hand does not hurt our left hand. Ancient wisdom seeks to expand this vision to include the world and the universe. Hence, if we consider the world as one, then help ever, hurt never is the transformation that ancient India's wisdom seeks through education. Therefore, it defines an educated person as one who seeks oneness with others and the world. Only then, when you have that feeling of oneness in you, can you be trusted to take decisions in society. Why were responsible positions given to people in society? Because they were educated. Education was created so that the person who's taking the decision in the society can be trusted. You put your money in the bank, you trust the banker. So, trust is the basis of running society. You have to create people who can be trusted. What creates that trust? The person who has a feeling of oneness. Vaishnava jana tene re kahiye, pida parai jani re. He who can feel the pain of the other has his own pain. When the banker feels that your money is like my money, so would we take unnecessary risks? Do you have that? Have you created that feeling of oneness? Tomorrow if the bank runs away with your money, how would you feel? And you get only 1,000 rupees back to live your retirement life. How would you feel? So those are the questions. So when a responsible position is given, what creates that responsibility? Only a feeling of oneness creates a responsibility. Ancient Indian wisdom has time-tested techniques to enable the transformation of attitudes within students depending on their inner nature. And this is what OECD is seeking. Transformation of attitude. Life anyway, we believe, teaches us how to expand our vision. First you are young, you are a student. After that you get married. So instead of one, thinking of me and me alone, you think of two. That for two of us, what is the best? When you have children, you think of more, larger numbers. When you go to work in an organization, you think of even larger groups. So why not start by giving a vision that we are anyway residents of the society, we are anyway residents of a nation, we are anyway residents of the world. Education should give that vision right at the beginning to make you fit. And this is exactly what Purusha Suktam says. That's the essence of Purusha Suktam. That humans are a limb of society, society is a limb of nature. So don't look at the mantras, don't look at the words, look at the intention. Don't look at, we may not know Sanskrit, but if we are able to transfer that feeling, then the purpose of education has been achieved. Now, would global well-being experts agree with such a vision? Such a wisdom-based framework of teaching the MBA curriculum? For those who are interested, they can see a conversation with Professor Sir Cary Cooper, who was the chairperson of the World Economic Forum's Global Wellbeing Agenda Council. It's on YouTube, so I will not spend time on that here. The World Economic Forum now identifies the skills needed for 21st century. Now, if you see, 2/3 of these skills don't have anything to do with foundational literacies, which is what we are talking about. All that we are discussing till now is foundational literacies, how to teach. But what is it that the World Economic Forum, what they are saying? What you need is character. What you need is how to develop competencies. And creativity is one way of developing competency. So how do we create creativity? How do we create character? These are the challenges which NEP has to face, solve, and lead the world thereafter by solving them. So how do character competencies arise? Ancient wisdom's viewpoint I'll share. Rightly, we believe that competencies lead to prosperity and are expressed through research. Ancient wisdom, instead of research, starts with search. That leads to discoveries and adds unique value. When this search starts within, it leads to self-discovery first. That is its unique route to develop competencies. Discovery of individuality. When you do self-discovery, you discover that your own individuality, how different you are from others. That impacts research, because such research then expresses your individual creativity in a way that is unique and it is individual to you. Then the desire to copy others vanishes. Then we go back to calm. In the MBA curriculum, competitive response. Will your competitive response be that of copying others? No. It will be that of expressing your own individuality. So your past work is your only competitor. Therefore, you are always improving. So the nature of products that you offer are different. And when Pida Parai Jani Re Vaishnava Janto, when you identify the pain of the customer, you will say, this is what the customer really needs. So before the customer needs it, because you have a oneness with the customer, you will be able to develop products depending on the changing needs of time. And Prakriti, nature is that which is ever changing. So the needs keep changing, they keep evolving. So it's only through the feeling of oneness that the goals of marketing can be achieved. When we say Kam should be linked to Moksha, we are saying that please compete with your own past work. Don't look at copying. Copying, in the very first step, you may look at others as a benchmark. Like in the NEP, we are looking at the IB curriculum as a benchmark. Please don't look at it as something that you have to copy. Look at it as a benchmark. That's our starting point. But when we discover our own individuality and creativity, we will express it depending on our cultural tradition. What is the fourth line? The cultural preservation. So this self-discovery leads to building character. The excellence that it creates in the ancient Indian tradition is filled with goodness. If this is misguided, if self-discovery is misguided, then we have many stories of Ravan, etc. And therefore, self-discovery without goodness is discouraged. So how is this self-discovery done? The path is simple. Satyam vada dharmam chara. Speak the truth, follow righteous conduct. This transforms attitudes as desired by OECD. They have a goal, transform attitudes. We are saying this is all of education should only teach one line, Satyam vada dharmam chara. And this leads to help ever, hurt never. That's the attitude which OECD also wants. Then what does it mean in terms of business? It means that when you seek solutions, you are seeking non-zero sum solutions. A mathematician would understand what is a non-zero sum game. Now, the theory of knowledge itself has points which it has not explored enough, though they are listed in its agenda. The theory of knowledge uses theories, conjectures presently. All these may be wonderful. However, often they are treated as value neutral, or what in mathematics or sciences would be called scalar. Wisdom adds the direction of ethics, making them vectors. The IB curriculum's theory of knowledge considers, under a heading, factors that transcend individual ways of knowing and areas of knowledge. This list, we through our ancient tradition can explore much further. We don't need to change that curriculum. We don't need to change it. We can just look at these points and add our value here within the same framework. The first is the nature of knowing factor. In this nature of knowing, they have not explored wisdom enough. The second factor is the knower's perspective and application of knowledge factor. This can explore the role of experience, especially as gained. If you don't believe in ancient Indian tradition, at least believe in Sarah Lazar of Harvard's work, her research on meditation and such practices. Then look at the factor of justification of knowledge claims. It has not explored self-awareness enough, what we call as self-discovery. In all these factors, ancient wisdom of India can add value. Its concepts, techniques, and practices are useful for transforming the experience in which theories are used. So what is that one thing of ancient India's wisdom that can help the world in reshaping its education curriculum to create well-being in society? It can help overarch a myopic attitude of greed that harms others. This emerges from an excessive dependence on sense perception that leads to a false idea about the nature of the world and the nature of your relationship with the world, which people misinterpret as Dvaita. A misguided interpretation of the word as I versus others is the cause of all problems in the world. Dvaita does not ever imply free license. So this worldview of I versus others impacts the 8 ways of knowing in the theory of knowledge: reason, emotion, faith, imagination, intuition, memory, language. It leads to misguided actions that bring disrepute to education. So therefore, I am saying that disrepute to education has come not because of anything else, but because of a wrong worldview. In today's contexts, transforming education and mindsets for well-being, how do we use it in digital ideas? Today everybody is in a digital world, everybody from children to adults, we are all using digital technology 24 hours. So how do we fill digital ideas with goodness? For that, how can we explain the digital concept? How the very basis of understanding the digital world, if we can transform the very understanding of digital world, then the use of digital ideas can be transformed. So NEP's objective, living in the experience of the origin of digital world, offers a unique opportunity for humankind. The digital world rests on two numbers, 0 and 1. So we don't teach 0 and 1 as numbers, we teach them as an experience. So let me give you an experience of how this wisdom was created. Today, the problem that the world is facing is the same problem with which Shwetketu's father used. I'm going to use a story to help explain the point. Udalka felt that his son has come back and he has learnt everything. He has all the knowledge. But Udalka did not feel that Shwetketu knows everything. So he told him, go and learn that which cannot be taught, and sent him to the forest. In the forest, Shwetketu had nothing to think. He had nothing to see. So his mind was emptied. When his mind was emptied of all his arrogance, his ego, his feeling that I know it all, that I am now the center of the universe because I have so much knowledge, so much skills. Like MBAs felt that only they know how to use derivatives, so they kept using derivatives to such a way that they brought the whole world to its knees. The 2008 crisis was created. When he went to the forest and he was able to empty his mind, he came back with the feeling, this experience of 0 gave him a feeling of, he realized his own potential. He realized the potential of nature, the infinite potential of nature, his own infinite potential, and he realized the connection between his own infinite potential connection with nature. So let's look at it from a shloka, the Purnamada shloka. Now, if you look at it from the area of mathematics, it's a meaningless shloka. Because you take any number, Purna se Purna ko jo de nikal shesh reh jata tabhi bhi Purna hai. You take fullness from fullness, the fullness remains. How is it possible? Subtract 3 from 3, you get 0. Subtract 1 from 1, you get 0. You subtract 999 from 999, you get 0. So, what is the shloka teaching you? The shloka is teaching you that the world, all of creation is like a box of numbers. It's like a table. All the numbers are within the table. But there are two numbers which are outside the table. One is 0, the very beginning, and one is infinity. So 0 is an experience that you need. The experience that I am not the center of the universe. When you get that experience, you realize infinity. That is your infinite potential. So this is a transformation tool. Wisdom's experience of digital numbers, 0, is called Shunyata in Buddhism. It's a 2,500-year-old Nalanda curriculum idea. Now, what happens in 0? When you multiply any greed by 0, it reduces the greed to 0. 1 is the experience of oneness with all. When you realize infinite potential and nature's infinite potential, you realize a oneness between them. And that is the 1 is the most important number of mathematics. This is how ancient wisdom transforms. How does it transform further? The Bhagavad Gita shows the path. Jnanatum drashtatum cha tatven praveshatum. First know, jnanatum, what is to be investigated. Then drashtatum, how to visualize it in the mind so that you can grasp the truth to be investigated. And finally, enter the experience of truth to become one with it. That 0 makes you enter the experience of truth. So what is the thing to be investigated? The I of the individual. Who am I? Self-discovery is to be investigated. Science investigates the I of the world. And finally, the third, what do you need to investigate? The I of consciousness. And this gives you the auspiciousness of well-being. So what is auspiciousness? You can call it the word Shiva. Therefore, the Shiva principle holds the 3 I's as a trishul. The I of the individual, the I of the world, and the I of consciousness in the hand. That's the nature of your investigation. Please don't, I'm not using it as a religious symbol. I'm just looking at it as an aid to understand the concept. And with what mind do you have to investigate? You use the crescent moon, because the moon is changing every day, so the moon is identified with the mind. But whether it be Islam or it be Hinduism, we respect the crescent moon and the full moon. The Buddhist also recognizes the full moon. The full moon is the fullness of mind when you realize the oneness of the universe. That's the full moon. And the crescent moon is the one with which you investigate the three natures of I. So Jnanatam is using the sense perception. It just rises above the sense perception, which is what the 8 ways of knowing knowledge in the IB curriculum when we looked at it. So Jnanatam of Bhagavad Gita is using the sense perception to rise just a little above it. Drashtatum is using the intellect to grasp how to investigate truth using discrimination. Finally, Praveshtum is when the heart is transformed and it becomes one with the object being visualized, the final experience of Shvetketu. The behavior of many scientists shows such a search. Archimedes, for example, forgot his body when he jumped out of the bathtub when he had discovered the principle. So because all scientists spend hours in deep concentration and merge their identity into the object of their search. Peter Drucker of management also recommends such a path. So there is no difference. We use different terminology, they use different terminology, but their experience is not part of academic curriculum. We have put it as part of academic curriculum. So wisdom enables experience of goodness. It creates well-being for the individual in 3 ways. So when values and creativity are incorporated, first it transforms the education system. Second, it transforms the curriculum and teaching or learning methodology. Finally, it transforms the education policy of the nation to help transform the education policy of the world. This can make India back to its role of the guru. Therefore, NEP can become an international education policy.